So I decided to come on early aboard to see if anybody was on board, see if anybody was coming through. I know I don't usually come this early, but it's not that early. See what's going on in the happenings. Somebody will come through. We'll see what we got. We'll see exactly what we're working with. What's happening? Good to see you. Came here nice and early. It's a little bit earlier, and I think I'll be doing this if I got the time permit. So I just got through doing my video. Um, I think I told you about who my famous cousin is. Everyone's laughing at who? Everyone's laughing at him. Yo, Vinny. Vinny. Everyone's laughing at. How you doing today, though, by the way? That's good. That's good. Yeah, well, I decided to do that video. In case you don't know, Lawrence Taylor is my cousin. I talked about that before. We double related on my father's side. I knew it was gonna be tough. I understood. I knew it was gonna be tough. It always is tough, especially when you had that first one, because it carries so much weight. It's like people don't understand that takes time. That takes real time. It's like you gotta go through layers and um you have to go through so much pain and hurt and frustration, and it's never easy to digest it. It's voices, people just don't hear what you're going through. So that's why I wanted to take the thoughts and prayers with it, because I know that it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of time. Yeah, it's not easy. And for people who don't, I'm not saying you got to be a Christian and you got to be preaching, but just for people that have those spiritual connections or that with their soul, I just don't always understand. And some people think that you suck it up and you go on and you do this and you do that. And it takes time. It takes time because you don't walk down that street the same way you did yesterday. You don't smell the atmosphere the way you did. You don't look at it the same. You don't hear it the same. Sometimes if y'all share music together, or y'all share a movie together, y'all share meals together, they ain't never the same. The toughest thing to tell somebody that there's another day when they've gone through it. So I I just I put that emphasis on that. No, you know what? I tell people all the time, especially when we're as men, we got eyes just like women do. We have tears just like women do. We have expressions just like people do. Uh, Losing a loved one and a close one, or a dear someone that's close to you, that's something that takes time. That's not something that you just snap out and go through. You may go to work or go to school or, eat a certain way or process, but that doesn't mean that you're not hurting inside. There's no one has a time limit on mourning. And it's an insult when people disrespect that. It's very disrespectful because it's like they forgot what they went through. And if they haven't gone through it, yeah, well, it's a special thing. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You know, my grandmother's raised me, and I think about both of them. In fact, there's nothing like it because I know what it's like to have had that support, those conversations, those moments, and people who don't understand that it's a lot of superficial acting that goes on. Yeah. Well, Megan did act like well, because of what happened with the whole, obviously that was pretty strong. She didn't sell it all the way because they ran up out of there. That was a wake up call though. Cause that little boy ain't ain't uh ain't as dark as a scrambled egg, as a white boiled egg or egg white. And I'm like, why he so scary? But you get your wake up call. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Joe Rogan is extremely popular. And I appreciate what you said on that video because it's true. When I do my Spotify, I have to look up at that disclaimer. And I'm like, if I did anything like that, they pull my podcast down, give me a warning or something. If I do anything that if I was even going that direction. But because he's turned prophets and he's big and they love him and he gets um I think he had Aaron Rodgers, he's had a lot of prominent people on there. Somehow he gets a pass. And that's the sad world, what sometimes the quarters we share. Yeah, I don't think people ever listen to the racist rhetoric that comes out of people's mouths. I just don't think they do. Not with clear accuracy. Why would an Italian man be worried about culture when well, he lives a lie of culture because they still tell you that Christopher Columbus discovered America. So you do want to hang on to the past to your own selective vision. DeSantis remind me of a broke Danny Aiello from Do the Right Thing. Sal's Pizzeria need to come down. Thank you. Well, with Timberlake, I was a last second thing. So last night I was fishing. Not that I fish because I don't eat fish and nothing like that, but I was fishing online because I was like looking. I said, let me see what some people talk about some stuff. And then I came across the Timberlake thing about how his sales and everything. And I thought, ooh, I thought that's a good video. You inspired the Dwayne Johnson. I don't really talk about The Rock. And the LeBron thing, I was watching Two Raw. I was watching one or two Raws things, but the thing with JJ Redick and I went in there, but about the LeBron thing. So those things were inspired by different things, as of course. But then I had my own interpretation because I mix it up my way. I can be inspired, but I have a way of just, as you know, I do my own spin on stuff. But no one's really talking about Timberlake. But I think, what a wow, what ain't that something? Ain't that something? And his career is real interesting. And it's like the people's just done with him. So interesting. You will see I just got through doing a video about okay, let's address that. Good games last night. How you figure? What was good? Which one was good? Which one was good? What did I miss? Because the Knicks are in trouble. Tibbs pulling that D'Antoni thing, them butts is in trouble. Jalen Brunson, like he was washed. Like he get ready to fall out. And they in trouble if shoot the Pacers get the Pacers if the Pacers win in New York, That game, they'll win that series. Damn good. It played great, but well, that's because Rudy Gobert and Cat went back to Twinkies. They went back to Hostess Cupcakes. They really, and Aaron Gordon is starting to feast and beast on them. I mean, he's I'm like, y'all in trouble now. Y'all got Aaron Gordon out here balling and putting up. Oh yeah, y'all in trouble now. They soft is yeah, they're in trouble now. Jamal hitting threes by Reggie Miller. Come on now. Yep. That's why I'm gonna do the video about it, but I was reluctant. But I'm going about the Rudy Gobert 4-time defensive player of the year. I'm like, in what universe? What universe? Because I mean, he's a SpongeBob. I mean, he is SpongeBob. I mean, you got to be kidding. Did I miss something? You know, and he's strong on the weak side, like a free safety coming over the other, but his he don't intimidate nothing. He don't stop nothing. And Cat was soft. I mean, and the keys is simple. Like Charles Barkley said, it's simple. Cat's got to score 20. Rudy's got to have about 16, 17 boards. If he gets 10 points, but because he's raised different. Different type of you're seeing a young man that was raised different. I've seen them guys come along. I like what he said about Aaron Gordon's game. He said, "Look at Aaron Gordon's numbers." I like that. LeBron ain't never been mature, yo. LeBron act like a big old kid, crying and mounting all the time. You know. In fact, he's more embarrassing as he's gotten older than he was when he was younger, if you must know. That's the truth. I think LeBron James is more nauseating. I ain't a problem with that. I mean, I know cats that do that, and you know, wearing your cat backwards is fashionable. It's not like I have no problem with him wearing this. I have his mind being backwards, not his hat. His mind being backwards, I got a problem with. That's what I got a problem with. Because he's backward. He backwards, not him. His clothing. I mean, he don't dress like no kid. He's not baggy waggy, so that's not a problem. But his hat backward, that's cats do that all ages. That's not a thing. My problem is the fact that his mental maturation as far as being responsible for the shortcomings of his leadership or lack thereof, that's what I got a problem with. And, he takes no responsibility for that. So, but no, heck no. You must hate my team. I don't want no Trey. You heard Magic Johnson says he's an entertainer and all that about him? I'm like, I don't know what y'all be smoking, but y'all must be seeing something I don't see. I see a young dude that's a wash. Murray was the best player on that team. I know you do. And I just can't tolerate the Junior Whopper Curry. I don't feel him. I feel he's a hack. I don't see nothing about him. Coach killer and a one-dimensional bunny. Whatever I had for him, and I think the other thing that's making it look bad for him is because of the success of Luca. Well, it's not just he gets them fired; he just doesn't do nothing. He hasn't. He's been at one Eastern Conference Finals. He looked good a few years ago, but what has happened since then? And he doesn't deliver. They want him to be like a so-called franchise player of what? He's not the best player on the Hawks team now. So what is he? A guy that jacks up a bunch of shots. I don't get it. I don't get it. So I don't have any more use for him. I don't. No, he didn't. He said Seth. He said Seth, not Step. I thought so too. I did some research. He said Seth. I did the video. I did a video about it. You probably ain't seen my video. It was Seth. Yeah. Did you see my video? You ain't see my video? Yeah. Who else do you know named Seth? As a matter of fact, you can be black, white, Asian, Mexican. Who else do you know named Seth? That's right. And I was like, huh? I said, now look, I did the video. You didn't see my video. You see my video. I cracked up through the video. Matter of fact, I found this out last night and I was sitting up there like, oh, I'm going to do this video, but I'm going to laugh. I laughed. Crackhead. You know, he had a ruggy head, but I'm like, listen, I don't know if Seth beat you in a game of horse or something that you said that you know how people come on here and say, "Give me a shout out." I don't know what that was. I'm like, you know, but whatever you smoking, well, they can drug test you if you getting your pension right, because I'm sure they gotta come by and drug him up on in the park, you know, wherever he stays. I'm like, but I did the video. And in the video, see that I used to talk about, I said there were white folks. White folks told me back in '99, y'all can have Iverson. We got Jason White chocolate. And I said, okay. And I liked him too for a couple of moves he made. I mean, he had a couple of nice moves, but I'm like, yeah, okay. And I saw how it turned out. So if you remember that playoff game was at 2 out of 3 against the Lakers, and he was dancing and prancing. And Rick Alderman got rid of him because he was a turnover machine, didn't play no defense. And if you didn't get the onslaught of his movement and you could tolerate him hanging there with him, he tended to wear him down. And that's what happened because I remember that game 5, the Lakers beat Sacramento and they tore their behind up. And then next thing I know, he was done. That's why they went and got Bibby. Went and got Bibby and Bobby Jackson, if you remember. Because white chocolate became white expandable. Yeah, I did a video about that too. Yeah. Well, because aside from Paul Pierce coming there, ain't nobody else bringing no light in there. Keyshawn Johnson's good enough to get your show turned all the way off. Rachel Nichols, I don't know. I mean, she's kind of like, I don't know what she gets some takes, but it's like you're not doing nothing. You need the good or bad for the show. We know about Richard Sherman. That's a show canceler right there. So it's just, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So, okay. I will do that. Hmm. What did he say it in pertaining to? I'm just curious. Well, who did he say it in response to? I'm curious. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Thank you for letting me know. Well, he's the drunk uncle. He really is the way Shannon Sharp portrayed to be. You know how Shannon used to come on there with all the alcohol and the bottles and the robe and all the do rag. Paul Pierce really is like that. So he probably don't care. I don't know why they want him fired. They think of him like that anyway. I mean, he ain't exactly doing something out of type that they don't. Keyshawn is the Keyshawn is kind of like Malcolm Jamal Warner was Theo. He's like Theo that tries to act like Urkel and Carlton Banks rolled into one because he's the corny, tight, wide cat that wants to be right, tries to be right, and you end up laughing at the wrong thing because he's boring and he bland. He ain't got no personality. That's what he is. And he used to actually speak his mind on stuff when he was playing, but he just become like a side potato that just he just don't move. He just has no. It's like soulless. It sounds like he's trying to be rehearsed. It's like he tries to be something he's not, and he just bland. His basketball takes are horrible, and some of his football takes kind of just make you yawn. I mean, because you really realize how dry he is when he's in the two-man set. Pierce actually gives him some personality because it's like, yeah, the guy has knowledge and can talk, but then he's just so dry. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this, right? You ever had French fries and you didn't eat them when they were fresh and hot and they get kind of stale? They still fries and you dip them in ketchup or whatever you dip them in, right? And you give them flavor, but they ain't crisp. They just there and they kind of limp. That's how Keyshawn is to me. He's like limp fries. I don't. I be watching him and I'm like, oh. And Sherman is like them fries that are hot and they got flavor to them, but yet some of them taste all right and some of them don't. They taste kind of funny. So those cats, they just it's out of sorts. And you put them two, and then you got Michael Irvin. It's like, oh boy, that's a disaster for cancellation. That you put them three on there, you definitely gonna get your show, get your plug pulled. They just don't carry no weight. Yeah, I told you that yesterday. Remember we were on? I said I couldn't wait to see his reaction. When you said good games, I'm like, what did you see that I didn't see? Because Indiana looked like the tattoo parlor that the Knicks didn't ask to go to, and they got tattooed up. And that was a massacre. They stomped. They stomped the K out of the Knicks. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if the Knicks can come back from that because you usually get those kind of games out your system the first couple of games. You don't get stomped out this late in the series. I knew the Pacers had another win in them, but I didn't think they were gonna stomp that butt like that. They stomped them turkeys out and made them call and made them say uncle. He's good. He's good. He ain't a stud yet. He he he's getting there. It's gonna take a little time. Now I don't know about who both teams won because one team's in the second round of the playoffs who got a chance to go to the conference finals. The other team didn't make the playoffs. So I think the Pacers won the deal. I think if you ask me, De'Aaron Fox is better than what they got as far as overall. Oh, I don't know about that. De'Aaron can score. Halliburton can score, but Fox gives me a little bit more pop. And Sabonis got some juice. But them two, but after that, it's all Indiana, especially with Pascal and the Bell Roll concept. I mean, they got better. They are better, but they also in the East too. So let me get that consideration too before I get too excited. Because yeah, you might have a point. When I weigh it all up, if all things being fair, yeah, it's probably because I don't know if Sacramento. Sacramento was in the East, they'd be in the playoffs right now. And if Indiana was in the West, they'd be sitting at home. So I do think that is a conference situation there. But Rick Carlisle is a good coach, and he does get results. And I don't think no one saw the Pacers being in the second round this year. So to his defense, they just ain't they don't play smart. They should be banging them up in the box. I think and sometimes it is coaching and what you got as far as the system around you. You know. But anyway, well, that's what he has to do. Because if he doesn't play good team ball, they're not going to win. And that's the difference that's going to be the difference in this series. They can beat OKC if PJ if Washington goes off and that. I don't know about all that. I mean, that's a lot. And you gotta have what's going on? I'm all right. How you? I don't know about 100 million. They gotta see what they do in the next round before you start being his accountant, his agent. But you gotta remember something. Looking good against OKC ain't gonna be like the same against the Nuggets. Keep that in mind. I'd say 50, pushing 60. I don't know, but what's up? I don't know about anything over 70, but they're guys going against AKOKC. and they go against a young team, and he putting up some numbers, but I don't know. I don't know about that because I don't know what his first name is. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: if it's Perry, he go against Denver, he'll be Perry Washington. It won't be no initials. But he looked good the other game. But they don't play like that all the same. But they have to do that to beat OKC. They have to have a 4-man team to beat them. They cannot afford to uh, have Luka and Kyrie be, the stand up because it's a pretty evenly matched series. It just comes down to two things: it's experience and the others. That's it, really. That's what separates them in this series. Oh yeah, he's a very mature young man. I mean, I listen. I like the way Ant plays, and that's gonna go a long way in the future. But he's got to get consistency out of his veterans. They can't come back home and drop eggs. And you sure as heck can't have Aaron Gordon out there looking like he's, been baptized by Tim Duncan. I mean, come on now. Efficiency, I mean, it's one thing if he has an outer body game, but back to back, I mean, and he's not even seen as and Michael Portis Jr. hasn't even gone off yet. What's gonna happen when Portis has that game or two? So, you know, but that's just my take on it though. But Ant is playing, he got people calling him Jordan and D Wade and all that. Just let him be him. Yeah, what I like about Ant is how he appreciates the game. It's true. It's true. Those tend to make the best players. And you study because it's a very humbling game. You're not going to win as much as you think. And it's different when you get to levels. There are levels to this, there's tiers to this, there's coaching to this, there's strategy, there's structure to this. Takes a lot. You have to learn a lot on the go, you know. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Ant in a couple years of time could be the best player in the league with no questions asked. However, if you don't have the right cast and support around you, you're just another guy that's putting up a lot of numbers and you're a casualty in the postseason. So it's a lesson. But can he will this team to getting through this round? That would be a heck of a statement. And then therefore and so on. So we shall see. I'd like to respect Ant. Well, you gotta remember something. There was a changing of the guard. Not to mention, you gotta remember something too, because I was around, and I'll say this: how would you imagine you come into the league and you have the NBA commissioner calling you to face the future at the Magic and Bird, and they anointing you, and a guy who had a lot of style and swag, who came from a rival ABA league, which helped save the NBA, because George Gervin doesn't get his due either, and he comes along and he plays with this young upstart, and there are at different roads in their careers. So it would bring, when people crack me up how they get mad and they say, oh, Shaq's all that. This ain't nothing new. Everybody who reaches a certain level in these professions, I don't care if it's music, sports, movies, entertainment, yes, all got an ego. Heck, you don't work if you worked at Burger King and some dude comes along and gets the crown of the month, he got an ego. The old guard to the new guard's getting an ego. So what do you think they're not going to have an ego about? Gervin was told he had to defer to the new guy. The new guy was talented. And so Jordan was going to be upset about it because they were at two different levels and lanes when they're playing. I don't know Jordan how Jordan would have been if he had to play with George Gervin in his peak and his prime. I don't know. See, think about it. It's like when Larry Bird had Pistol Pete near the end. That and Tiny Archibald. That was not those guys' as peak in their prime when they were there. So it makes a difference. So you know, and it's like that. No, it happens. That's the truth. Then that was a different era. Well, two, three different types of guards. KJ was like a real wiry, athletic guy who went in at you. He was almost like, I guess you could almost say he was like almost like a broke version, like a Junior Whop of Isaiah Thomas in a way. He went at you a certain way. Terrell Brandon was a traditional point guard type, score movement, handles movement, style. And Mark Price was almost like somewhat like Stockton and also Steve Nash. So herky jerky, it's a different approaches, but they all could play. They all could play. It was just a different era. Yeah, and again, he was more of a real traditional type of point guard. Different era. Different era. I liked him too, but different era. Different era. Well, see, when you ask this kind of question, I was more of a Kenny Anderson guy, but I think more game out of Kevin Johnson. I like Kenny, but Kenny had that New York attitude. And the problem I had with them New York guards is they think nothing stinks. They think they the end all be all. And then when they don't really go to another level, and he didn't. He got more out of KJ. I thought Kenny had crazy handles and skill set, but KJ gave you more. It's funny too, because I hadn't thought about Kenny in a long time. But I had memories of him really well. He was one of my favorites back then, just like Rod Strickland too. But I told you about them cats. Them cats walk around like they don't smell, and then and they end up being on 15, 11 different teams. Bad ego and arrogance. I think his underrated skill set to me was his mobility. Cause that dude could move. And no one really ever talked about how he was athletic. Like he could move. He go coast to coast. You see the highlights when he was in Philly? Pull the ball behind his back. He go coast to coast on your butt and hold that rim. That was the underrated skill of him. People forget how he could move. They just thought he was a big old piece of slab of bacon and he just was all one dimensional and wore out. He could move, hang on that rim and rock it. He had some motor in his engine. I think that's what made him an underrated thing. That's why we love Barkley. We knew he could shoot and score and move, but see, a lot of these cats don't even know how good he was. And I think a lot of it's because it was a lot of game with him. A lot of stuff he did, because he didn't. When all that Shannon should talk all that mess about Shaq, I'm like, you can never talk about a man who won multiple rings or he won one ring. Save it for a guy who really didn't get to the next level. And a guy who should have been in the top 15, 12 discussion. There's your man right there. Cause usually if you asking me, like it's tough for if I'm being honest, if you ask me about him and Karl Malone, and Karl Malone was a great player, but Charles' skill set was another level. But And people don't realize how freaky Charles Barkley was. They don't. They don't. I mean, it's just that his personality and the things he said and the stuff he did has outweighed him as a player, which works good for his bank account. But we didn't get we didn't get that other guy. So that's what happened. Well, Reggie's doing what the master tells him to do. I heard about him taking a nod against LeBron. He only did that after the master said, go ahead and give his kid a support. I'm not buying that he's all of a sudden so enlightened. You got to keep two eyes on Reggie. Reggie do what they tell him to do. That's why you can't trust corporate sports. They all going in unity. Kendrick is now. They all saying they go by what the master tell them to tell them. Because LeBron then lost twice in a row to Jokic and looks old and busted and deleted, and it don't look like it's gonna get no better. I know, and I'm not a fan of Reggie Miller. You asked me what I think about Reggie. Well, see, first of all, Cheryl was better. Second of all, he was a great shooter. I don't know how great of a player he was all around when I think about it, but because of the notoriety of coming up big against the Knicks, which the last time I checked in the 90s, they went to 2 finals, I'll give them that, but they didn't win nothing. And they were a shoulda, woulda, coulda team that with Pat Riley and all that. Well, all you need to know is that Pat Riley didn't stay in New York that long, and he had way more success or as quick success with Miami in a lot quicker time. So that speaks volumes. Reggie had some moments against the Bulls, and he had some moments, but he obviously, that he's got a very dry sports commentator voice, and he's a corporate pitchman, and he just kind of goes along. He got endorsement, but he wasn't that kind of cat, you know. Reggie could play, but Reggie wasn't like the most mature cat himself. Not on the court, he wasn't, because he had antics for days. Um, I don't think they care about that. I don't think they care about that. I'm gonna tell you why. Reggie ain't a threat to nothing, and he had pretty much crossover appeal without really having appeal. Make it make sense. But when you look at Reggie Miller, it wasn't like someone he crossed over, but it wasn't like I sat there, like it was kind of like it's more cornball than it is shuffling. But he does shuffle, but it's more cornball. The Carlton Banks character, he's not really Carlton. Reggie would almost fashion himself as Stefan from Urkel, but he's not. He's not Carlton. No, we love Cheryl better, and Cheryl was a better player too. Well, again, in all due respect, don't take the wrong way. You're younger, and you don't always get to see some of these cats and these people I got to see in certain lights. Cheryl had that Jerry curl, was shimmying like Michael Jackson, moving that rock, and it was a different era, but she could play. I knew she was better. I knew she was better, and she was stronger too. That was the problem. But anyway, she did get the coaching job with the Braids with the Phoenix Mercury. I remember that. But no, Reggie was like a cornball. He could, like I said, he could score and he had some moments. But, I wasn't like, I don't know what I want to say. I never was blown away by him. Never was blown away by him. I call a really good player to very good. And had he been able to, now maybe if he wins a ring or two, yeah, things definitely change. 'Cause one of the most clutch shooters I ever saw, that's a fact. But there was nothing else to his game. But he crossed over, he got the corporate love. Well, why you say that? I mean, they're gonna win this series. And of course, if they let Donovan beat them another game, they in trouble. But why you say that? Tell me why you say that. I'll tell you why I say that. Well, because he wants to be treated like a superstar. And they got to sell his jerseys, and he plays for Boston. And he's desperate to try different tactics because he says it doesn't work. But I've been called them frauds. Let me put to you like this, right? Did they not have the best record in the NBA this year? Doesn't Jason Tatum have one of the top 5 selling jerseys in the NBA? Are the Celtics one of the 2 most successful franchises in the NBA? So if you answer yes to all that, yeah, he looks like a fraud, which I called him out on. So that ties into the narrative. There's an agenda. They want them turkeys in the finals by any means. They need them to win because they can't stand the thought that Udoka was the best manager. And Joe Mazzulla, who had a prior record, etc., because that was brought up. So they justify firing Udoka to bring him in, let that simmer with what that agenda is about. But that's what's up. So they're gonna try to justify, and then they're gonna try to solidify what they do. I think they're one of the most overrated law firms. I've said Tatum and Brown. I'm not buying them. But they know how to do enough to get through the season. No, they better than 97 Heat. If Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning could score like Tatum and Brown did, they would have gone to the finals. They couldn't score like that. They didn't have no Devin White and all that. Offensively, yes. Offensively. Boston, talent-wise, is better. Mentally wise, no. I think I know what you're trying to say, but it was 2 different eras of basketball. Yeah, I have to say so because the Miami Heat didn't have that third option. Jordan and them weren't scared of Alonzo or his hefty chest and tough guy and flexing or Tim Hardaway. There was the Heat. The Heat didn't have enough offensive firepower. Boston got offensive firepower. Their problem is they think they can turn it on, turn it off, and they tend to downplay or who they play against. The Heat didn't have the kind of wheels enough to do that with. That's the difference. They kept coming up short. And besides, they've been to a finals already. I can't compare a team that with Tim Hardaway and Lonzo Mourning to a team that actually went to a finals. Boston camped out in Eastern Conference Finals. They won one, and they went to a bunch. That wasn't the Miami Heat situation until they finally, and they weren't as deep. They got waxed by the Bulls, and also look at the competition they had. The Boston Celtics have not had to go against a Chicago Bulls type of team during the Tatum and Brown run, except when LeBron beat them in 7 games. But even that, you said the 97. Okay, so you said 97 Heat. You said 97 Heat, now you're saying 07. Okay, I get it. No, 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 no. What happened in 07 is that Shaq got old, Lonzo was old, Gary Payton was old. They got swept by the Bulls in the first round. They looked old. They had guys that were truly there for hired hands for that one run. Antonio Walker, they had enough to get through. They weren't meant to be a long-term team. Sometimes people get this romanticism that because of your age that you're not deteriorating, but they did. They deteriorated. I still was mad about that pumpkin ball at the start of the opening season because Chicago waxed they behind that opening night, and they couldn't shoot that ball to get in. But they weren't. No, no, they looked old. They got old and they got slow. That's one of the reasons why Pat Riley got out of there. He got that ring and he got what he wanted, and he shut all his critics up. That's why he can go back into the suites. And he told LeBron, I'm not coming back down because I did it with Shaq. I ain't coming back down. I did it with Shaq and D Wade and Lonzo. I'm not coming back down. But I wasn't surprised that they only got one. I wasn't surprised. No, he got old. He got old. He got old. He looked in Miami. He had great to very good. Then he went down to all right. Went to Phoenix. He looked really good at times. But then when they played the Spurs and him, Stoudemire and Nash, and the D'Antoni system, they got stiff. And he had some moments with Grant Hill. They had some moments, but they weren't a great team. It didn't work. Goes to Cleveland with LeBron. They went on those games. He's more of a role player who's an aging veteran. So he's just kind of like a hanger on. And they had a 60+ win season, but he wasn't the guy he was. He was 2 shades off of what he was. And then, of course, in Boston, he just looked out of place and out of shape and looked broke. So now he didn't age gracefully. Being honest with you, he got probably retired after his Phoenix era. That was probably his. I know the Cleveland won 160+ games, but he probably played about 2 or 3 years too long, in my personal opinion. CP3 definitely looks like he definitely last legs, and playing with Golden State, that did not fool nobody. You have to have legit scores. Then he looks all right, but it looks just like a buddy trying to return a favor. Wasn't going to happen there. And LeBron can still put up numbers. It's just that they don't count for what you want. They'll get you an in-season Walmart banner. I'll give you that. But not the one in June. If you like the one in December, we got one for you for $9.95. But if you want that one in June, forget about it. Because it's not going to, and anything that's going to happen, he might either get hurt or he'll deteriorate. It'll happen. It's already happened before you because he can't really will that team like that. And besides, if I'm him, if I get to another finals, I would have to retire because it ain't gonna happen like that. It's already showing its wear and tear, and you don't get better as you get older. Not in that sport, you don't. Kobe got hurt, and again, didn't have the pieces to be a championship team. Weren't far off from being a playoff type team, but not a championship team. And that's the problem right there. If you want to make the playoffs, that's one thing. If you want to win a ring, you know it takes a whole lot more than what you got. So he won't get no full credit for what he would have to do, because he'd have to jump on a team that would have to put him in a position where he'd be a third wheel. Because quiet as it's kept, and you can tell your neighbor I said that, and if they watch the show, I'll say this live. He's a third option in Phoenix right now. Quiet as it's kept, because it's Booker's team. Booker is the better player of the two at this stage, whether they want to admit it or not, because Booker will go for more points. Bradley Beal is a scoring threat. And KD plays in this groove where he kind of blends it to him to where it comes on. So he's a third option in Phoenix as we speak. He's not going to be no alpha in this capacity. That ended in Brooklyn. That was over in Brooklyn. Because Harden was subjected to second, third chair, and Kyrie was a sidekick. A real broke Allen Houston. Real broke. Like under the table, was missing two legs on the chair, broke. But my point is that he is a third option right now. When he left Brooklyn, he couldn't go to Phoenix and take over for Devin Booker. They don't have a number one option in Phoenix. They got number two options in Phoenix. Once you understand what I'm saying, I ain't saying nothing that sounds like I'm crazy. Who's the number one option in Phoenix? Who? Dave Book by default, but Devin Booker don't want that responsibility. He ain't about that smoke. He can't go barrel to barrel with your best player. He can't beat you in different ways. If he don't score a chunk of points, ain't much to his game. And he gets broken down. And Durant got alpha beta talent, not alpha meta leader. Big difference. So that's the problem they run into. But that's not my problem. That's not my team. Check some real quick. I had to check some. I'm back now. But anyway. Yeah, I saw that, miss. I saw that. You want my take on that? It don't really matter. Does it really matter? They should have done. That's because the MVP thing, and I know why they're doing it. They should have done probably Mahomes versus y'all. What an interesting game, or Detroit, because that's who should have been in the Super Bowl. They actually had it right this past year. Yeah, they they got to create a rivalry for him. I'm afraid that's the only way Lamar is gonna catch him is in MVPs, because he sure ain't gonna catch him in Super Bowls. But I saw that though. And that's a scary part too when I say that, but that's the only way he's got hope. But I might do a video about something. Oh yeah, whose division y'all got this year? Why is it so tough? Who y'all got? Who y'all got? Y'all gonna decide if y'all got a tough schedule or not. Mm, I don't know. I mean, y'all don't. You know, one thing about Green Bay, if they when Aaron was there, they peaked early and got hot. I don't know. I think y'all gonna be all right. I think y'all gonna be all right. I think y'all gonna be all right. I'm not gonna. I think y'all gonna be all right. And everybody's giving Michael. I hope they watch my video. I hope they watch that video because I called that from the get up. I said Michael Vick 2.0, and I said what I said about him. First of all, nobody in their right mind would trust Kirk Cousins, and he's 36 now, so that's not exactly a spring chicken as a quarterback, especially with a guy who, last I checked, he ain't gonna turn into Tom Brady. He's injury prone, but he's probably the greatest quarterback hustler I've ever seen. If I had to pick a guy to hustle the bag, he might be the kingpin because he always seems to know where the money is. He always gets the bag. Man, look, a lot of teams need Donovan Mitchell. I told you about that yesterday. You laughing. The Knicks. What I tell you about the Knicks? I told you I ran down teams that can need him. Listen, that's the one thing that's hurting y'all right now. If you're an OKC fan, and when I said he has to turn into Allen Iverson, because they in the matchup with Dallas, but when you don't have that other dude knocking shots down, that's because Josh Giddey don't do nothing. And I think he's a problem. He's all right, but you know, but they need another guy to score. And Chad is getting exposed because Chad has to give up all that inside out. I never said nothing about Gordon Hayward. You kept throwing that name up. I ain't thought about Gordon Hayward in 10 years. Last time I remember Gordon Hayward was when he was in Boston. And I still say he did his best work in Utah. I never was feeling no Gordon Hayward. He can, he can shoot and he has some moments, but no. He was a defensive liability. He been injury prone, and he's a set shot player for a different era, which it doesn't really manifest to what they need. They need guys who can score points. They need buckets. Not some guy who may have a 17-point night game. They need 27. That's their problem. That's what's loud and clear. That's why I mentioned Donovan Mitchell. If I'm New York and if I'm OKC, Donovan Mitchell, I'm putting some money out. But you're gonna be the second wheel though, maybe third. In New York, you be the second wheel, and OKC, you be the third. But either way, I'm gonna pay you like you second wheel money. Cause I'm telling you right now, that's the dude. And he know he wants out of Cleveland. He ain't cut to be the top dog, and they don't have the talent there. Who you telling? So that last night in Minnesota, shoot, Djokovic shot a cat type 3 wide open. I'm like, y'all got to be tripping. Y'all better hit that dude. Yeah, and they let him open too. Said, look, this ain't Patrick Beverly. Y'all up here doing self check. Y'all tripping. This ain't Draymond Green. Self check. Shh. Y'all sit up here letting a guy who can actually knock that thing down. Yeah, and but see the thing is though last night he went over where I would say not normally do, but he had 35, 7, and 7. But that's because Michael Porter Jr. didn't step up and KCP still hasn't arrived. Jamal had almost 20, but Gordon came up big. But it worked out okay because they had the others involved. So they got away with one last night. And he was in his groove. Had a couple sick passes, but that was just some stupid play by Minnesota. This is bad defense. So-called 4-time defensive player of the year got shooked out. Never leave Jokic. Never do a double team on him, especially under the paint. You supposed to trap him by the center court, halfway by the midway half court. Now when he's in the base, you don't do no trap on him like that. That man got too thrifty and too creative. But they're a young green team, and you know, well, yeah, but that got to do with the fact of common sense. He got common sense on the basketball court. Rudy Gobert said he got street in him too. Sesame Street. But anyway. He just one of those guys that, you know, he's big, tall, and a goofball. And there's a reason why people looked at them two, like him and Cat as Hostess cupcakes, like two Twinkies. Till Ant came along. You can't. I'm sorry, you can't make somebody tough when they got tenderosity in them. When they're a cupcake. I'm sorry. You can try. You can try. Yeah, Seth. You the real Seth. Are you Seth Curry? Are you? That's Seth right there. You go. You the one that bought off Jason Williams. Everybody know Rude is soft. Everybody know he's soft. Everybody know he's soft. And he's in the best situation he could be in because he doesn't even have to be. He can be a third, fourth wheel in this team, and that's still too much pressure for him. So that's all I can say about it. He don't need a jump shot. He needs some jump in his behind. That's what he need. He ain't got no jump in his behind. Because if he ain't blocking shots from the side or, overacting, it's like when he got caught for that offensive foul, like he just like, okay. Okay. I watched that last night and that was, it's just his mindset just ain't really there. It just ain't he ain't a takeover kind of dude. And it shows. He's athletic, but he's nerdy with it. It's no one's taking him serious. So I got nothing to say about him. I used to call him Rudy Gone Soft. That's what I used to call him. Rudy Gone Soft. That's what I called him. It's true. So what they used to do real well is, of course, they would talk to the press when you beat them at your home court. Then they go back home. They know how to talk to the media. They know how to make adjustments. Phil would devise schemes. So I remember once the Spurs were up 2-0 against Shaq and Kobe in the playoffs, and he had Kobe run a press against Tony Parker, and that changed that note neutralized it. He always understood how to make those subtle adjustments. Pat Riley, if he saw you weren't playing a certain way, or he found something, he always looking for something that he could use against you. So he would assert some kind of energy. That was his tactic. And they did. Old school. See, people now come out here and say, "Oh, you can make adjustments." Don't let Charles Barkley tell you can't. The great coaches know how to make tweaks. They find little things that you tend to do. Will Michael Malone be considered a great coach? Time will tell. But if you want to know what he did in this series, right? It just that Aaron Gordon started making shots. And once they took that pressure where Minnesota couldn't run those back traps, couldn't stop them at half court, couldn't gang up on them and freestyle on them, it's now they don't have no answer for Ant. But if you don't, Rudy Gobert ain't gonna. If he scored 10 last night, something like that. If Rudy Gobert scores more than 15 points a game, you should go ahead and give him a parade. That ain't gonna happen. So you got to worry about him being a threat. Cat, you got to tick off the sweet spot, and that's all he like to do as a scorer. He'll make a couple slash moves, but he's mainly just to be a jump shooter. So you got to make him move. You got to take him off his spot. Michael Conley. So the adjustments that the Nuggets have made is that they were driving to the hole and forcing Minnesota. They stopped being a jump shooting team and come on inside, and that's how you slowed it down. Phil Jackson did that against Sacramento. That's a one game where Derek Fisher stopped shooting all those threes, wing them in, make them play inside the paint, changes the landscape, slows the possessions down. That's the adjustments, because if a team is beating you at a certain tempo, you got to find some way to get them uncomfortable. You got to figure out a way to rattle them. That's what it comes down to. But those were coaches that coached in that era. Today, everybody's pretty much playing at the same level of styling. Steve Kerr did make those adjustments, though. He tweaked, but against it, he didn't really want to bring in um, what's his butt? I can't think of it now. But anyway, he didn't want to bring him in, and he had to start him. So that's what held them on. Well, yeah, because they meant business. Phil wasn't gonna call a lot of timeouts. Phil was just gonna have you be detailed and figure it out, And he knew when energy was lacking. He knew when cats weren't moving around like they're supposed to, because the triangle, when they were getting the best out of stuff. But when they were in their groove, they could definitely apply the pressure. They could definitely keep things going. Riley was always constantly looking at you, circulate, move the ball inside out. It was like a boxer. That's how Riley was. Riley was like a boxer with it. Left, right, jab, left, right, jab. What we gonna do? Phil methodically would rev up where he got his bench guys, and that's where he got mismatches. And like I said before, Phil's greatness as a head coach is he could get guys that you couldn't give away at a fire yard sale. They looked like they were studs. Riley knew how to get his role players, but he got them to play at a real high level. What it was that clothesline. When Kel McHale took out Rambus, I remember it like yesterday. That changed the whole series right there. Today, Kel McHale would have been suspended for the whole series, but that time, that was a hard foul. Clothesline Rambus, and Larry Bird called them soft, and then they got it together. And they got physical. They put some wood on the Lakers. They boxed out. They did what they're supposed to do. And they were effective. And they were able to keep the game close. Bird hit good shots, and they were able to keep the tempo. It was all about making tempo. Let me tell you what that was back then. That was tempo adjustments. East and West was different. So if I can run at your tempo, but yet I can slow it down enough, I'm gonna beat you. That's what it came down to back in the day. Not that slow the needle down the 90s ball where everybody barely you score 83, 84 points. In the 80s, you was running, but it was like who was gonna control tempo? That was the difference. Today, what Steph came along was like conditioning, stamina, you know, sprints. That's what they've been trying to push. And that's what happens when you have high volume shooting and scoring. You try to wear down another team. They didn't always have close games. So I remember many a time, if you want to know, Jordan and Pippen would be icing up in the late third quarter. They put the ice pack on their thighs. They wear your butt out. They come out like what Golden State does in the third quarter, except they put the clamps on you on defense. See, they had close games in particular series, but not always. But when they spanked Miami's behind, which they did, there wasn't a lot of close games. They iced up in the third quarter because you weren't coming back like you do today. It was unheard of 30 years ago to choke away 20-point leads. Not like today, that's nothing. But then, 3-point shot wasn't as prevalent and relevant. And basically, the teams that were better than you beat you. When you had a lead in certain games after halftime or third, fourth quarter, you weren't blowing it away like they do today. That's the difference. It's a different era. And those guys clamped down on you. He he pretty much, again, the style, depends on when we're talking about. When they were having their type of games, they put it on you quick. Because I won them games in the finals against Utah. They held Utah to the lowest point total since the shot clock era. Beat they butt up. And, you know, they could play those kind of games. Like I said, it was a different era, different time. So they had some games that they were done with you by the third quarter. Only if they had a center. They had everything but that. And Ronnie Cycler refused to go to Utah. He said, I'm not leaving South Beach. So, and that was it really. That's what it came down to in a nutshell. Because it was pretty evenly matched series, and Utah could have won that game 6. They were up by 5, but again, keeping the game close, you know. But some people don't give Stockton them credit. That was fundamental basketball. Stockton didn't make a lot of mistakes. He played as well a point guard as you could play. It came down to a couple plays and a couple things. That's all it comes down to. It's not a lot that separates a lot of teams. Jordan hit a big shot in game 1. You just think about it. Guy hits a big shot, what you gonna do? So Oh, everybody used to watch that. Everybody used to watch that. They were the Jackson 5, Beatles, however you want to call it, phenomenon you want. They were that phenomenon of the NBA. They captured the imagination. And they always seem to get the job done, and they you know, and they were again, they matched the intensity, you know. I'm not saying Utah didn't wax that butt a couple of games because they beat them in Utah, but the thing is that when they won that seal out game, Jordan had 45 points and he was keeping them around. He played hard. You know, Game played hard. But they had other pieces too. The bench was very big. Like I said before, those were evenly matched type. But you're going against a great coach, and yeah, he did. He wasn't always that big because when he was in Atlanta, he wasn't that big. But he been in the league. He's like, give me that cheeseburger. I'm from Utah. And I was cracking on when he had them glasses too. Both of them had them glasses on. Used to crack me up because I almost forgot how he looked. But he wasn't no factor for Utah. You know. But Jerry Sloan was a great coach. It's just that sometimes talent beats your greatness. That's all. If Eric Spoelstra didn't have that LeBron D. Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen situation, he may have been in that Jerry Sloan situation. Well, Kukoc learned how to act when he came to America, so he learned how to act. Kukoc had to do something because he knew he was out of picture in that situation. He would have been okay if Jordan don't come back, but Jordan came back, and Jordan teamed up on him because they didn't like he came over and made all that money. That's a whole nother video and story there, though. I think his worst problem is the fact he's gone through 3 different coaches, and since he won the championship and doesn't have a lot to show for it. That's his real problem. Lost to Miami last year, was hurt, couldn't get out the first round, and lost to Boston badly 2 years ago. And it's kind of becomes like, well, you can score, and you made yourself into a great talent, a great player, but what you got to show for it? And all these coaches come and go. So that's the problem I'm seeing with him. And he better get it together because while he does have his status and everything, Jokic and him, that's a mark. That's his peer. I don't know what he could have done. I think he was frustrated and embarrassed, if honesty. Probably got egg on his face because they knew it didn't work. So yeah, you'll probably sit with that cat. You'll keep that cast on both your shoulders because you don't want to go out there. Didn't realize how much he was gonna miss Drew Holiday. And the thing is, they're not coached the right way. Yeah, would you want to go out there and play? Remember, I tell you, they don't utilize Brook Lopez the right way for starters. Why Brook Lopez don't get more touches? Because Brook Lopez can do a double-double every night. And they showed that against Indiana. They won that one game with Lopez at 25 and 10, and Patrick Beverly scored them points, and Chris Middleton by reporter. So don't act like they don't have this. They just don't have organization. And then you bring a guy in who's nothing but a scorer and a stat pattern Dame, and you lack defensive intensity, you lack direction. You got guys who just kind of stand pat and have to wait for you to decide to do what you. They don't have no team ball. They have no leadership qualities. Yeah, Giannis is an alpha, but he doesn't really lead the ways that the subtle way of leading. Because if he did, they would have been better against the Pacers. And they just don't have it. And Dame is just basically like Paul George's second, third, fourth cousin. They all kinfolk. You know how what I mean when I say that. They ain't gonna do nothing come postseason. They're just the same person. So that's just a bad look for them. And of course, then you bring Doc Rivers in. That's the cherry on top. So I hope you're happy, Milwaukee and Giannis. Because he's got a chance to be the greatest player in Bucks history. You can make that case for him right now. However, what's it gonna matter if you just you don't you're gonna be a first round casualty. So I think he could make a move in a couple years though. He might want to consider it too. Because what I'm seeing in Milwaukee, that's not gonna cut it. But probably could have played with a sore calf. Probably. But you know how some of these cats are. They ain't cut out for that. They embarrassed. And I would be too. You went through all that. And the whole year, Charles Barkley and others were like, you're not a championship team, but yet you're putting up top tier stats. But no one buys your team. So that was telling. I guess. I guess. I'm not. You know what? I don't have anything to say about that because Shaq's done some deeds and some things, but you didn't see my Shaq video today, did you? I did that video today too about the Papa John's. That race is trash. He's mad because Shaq took over the pizza and he's like, oh, he's racist and I don't like him. So the Shaq thing got me thinking about doing a video about, are MVPs more important than winning championships? Because of Shannon Sharp. And I might have to do that in a video. But I want to ask you point blank, what matters more? Your league, your personal MVPs, or the titles you win? I just want to know. Because I'm thinking about doing a video about it because since Shannon Sharp brought that to the attention, and somehow that's used against Shaq. Yeah, I did the video. I did the video, and I had to cringe because I hate that pizza. If you must know, that's one of the worst pizzas I've ever had in my life. Pizza sucks. And he's a hardcore bigot. He got caught saying all that stuff about Kaepernick, and he just has embarrassed himself. And he's still out here crying. And Shaq was a businessman, opportunist, so he took it upon himself and he ran with it, so whatever. I liked them better than the 90s and the Crazy Breed, if you must know. I stopped messing with them turkeys a long time ago, but compared to, I give them by default, I will say by default. I'd mess with them before I'd mess with Pizza Hut again or Domino's. Because them pizzas is crap. Domino's always had like one decent one out the year, and then two of them things, it's like, whose teeth I'm going to use to eat these? Yeah. See what I mean? There you go. Why was it so much better in the 90s? And you can remember it too, just like me. Because even though we different ages and different times, you can relate to the same thing I'm talking about. Why is that? Why was that? There was something about that crazy bread. That bread in the 90s was off the chain. Yeah. All that stuff was better back then. It's true. They can't. Well, I don't go out there no more, and I don't eat that stuff. But you couldn't even pay me if I did to go touch that stuff. That stuff nasty. I mean, that stuff look just. I went to a McDonald's a few years ago before the pandemic kicked in, right? And they had the fish sandwich up on the picture. That thing like Donald Trump's hair. I was screaming. I was like, "What Donald Trump's hair up there?" That's the fish burger. That's what it looked like. Like a piece of his hair is a burger. I was like, "What in the world is that?" And I saw the hash browns the last time. That thing was like a brick. I was like, they really fell off. But most people only mess with their fries though. So yeah, she was right. She was right back then. And the last place I messed with some pies from was Arby's. They had some cherry ones that were like, yeah, they were good. Your mama was right. That's when they had that Jordan McRib. They had that Jordan sandwich too back then. I mean, yeah. Back then you didn't mind the greasy food and stuff. That stuff went downhill bad, bad, bad. Yeah, back in the day. Back in the day. But again, a lot of that stuff just went down the toilet. I mean, it just no, I don't eat out at all. I told you pandemic life changed all that. And I think there was a couple pizza places during the lockdown, went by, got some stuff. And I came to find out that I didn't miss being in them places. And, sometimes you get some food or stuff, but went out one of them places and was closed and they had some decent all right food, but I I really got used to it, if you must know. That's why it'd be hard for me to even go into places like that because I got used to it. The takeout and not messing with it. And I really don't miss it. Yeah. Plus I also think that they ever have another lockdown or anything like that again, you better take care of yourself. You better eat right, because and something will happen. I mean, with all this stuff going on, something will happen because they got to find a way to make money. And with all the people they bring into the country or different wherever you are, they will definitely think of some way to make some money scheme. So, but yeah, the food quality is definitely it's not enough for discussion. I can tell just sight on scene because places just don't even feel right no more. They don't look right. So, but yeah, no, that's right. Any place that's near the south, you sure as heck, you better go buy your own water. Don't mess with that tap. Oh, that tap used to be horrible in Virginia. That mess was looking scary. Anything could go through that. Definitely missed that. Yeah, I buy my own bottle. I buy water out here. It's cool. And I always messing with bottled water. Yup. But it depends on what part of Michigan you're in, because you know about Flint. And old tap dancing Steve Harvey was dissing that mess. I don't forget that mess. So yeah, some places they do. They tend to do that, especially in the predominantly black areas too. Just so you already know. When you're more urban areas, things come across a little. Yeah, yeah. See some South Haven. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's different in different parts of the country. That's for sure. Like I told you before, please don't quote him with no basketball takes, because he don't know the half of what he talks about. How is a man a bum when the guy got the most important rebound in history and assist history? How's that a bum? The same guy that was gonna get a big $80 million contract extension before his body broke down. Yeah, come on, Keyshawn. Keep on with the drum roll, please. Keyshawn got more jokes. Keyshawn must have been hanging around with white chocolate. He knows nothing about basketball. His basketball IQ is kind of like his old former jersey, number 19. Bosch was the best sidekick, best player that LeBron James ever played with, and I will debate that with anybody. And I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't say he was the best talent he played with, but I said the best player. Let me explain. He was the first guy to understand his role, and he knew how to play his role, and he knew how to kept him fresh. Kevin Love sanked with LeBron, and they never had a third option in LA. Bosch was a standard. Bosch prepared a guy like AD to play with the LeBron. Because you got to understand how you defer. You also got to understand the ego. So willing to do the little things and no help in other ways. Bosch did that. That's not hardly a bum. They don't win without Bosch. Well, literally too, because that rebound and assist and that defensive play against Tony Parker on at the end in that overtime. Bosch was that versatile. He tripping. Yeah, the same bum that's in the Hall of Fame. How'd it turn out, Keyshawn? Yeah, I don't take that turkey serious with his NBA takes. I don't even look up. I wish he was drunk. You act like he's inebriated when he gives these takes. I just think that he's a dork, like he's corny. It's just like he's like, come on, man. You know, I mean, it's not even funny. It's just flat and just bad script. Like he's trying real hard to appeal. You can't even quite put it into words because he ain't shuffling and he ain't toe tapping and he ain't drunk and he's not funny and it's just dry and it's kind of got me lost. And I don't know how to label him. I'm kind of lost when I think about Key. Because I wish it was funny. I wish he was entertaining. I wish there was something there that I could say, okay, I get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just feel that, he just out his element. That's what I keep coming back to. Because they first of all, they don't want intelligent conversation. That's why. They don't want anyone who actually can break stuff down. And they don't want anyone who can actually talk about the game. They want to hire paid pitch. It's kind of like what Fox News does. They rather have shock jock, Tucker Carlson, Nick Wright. You got to look at the network, Skip Bayless. I'm just saying, look at the network. They show you what they made of before you ask questions. Did you hear the names I mentioned? Tucker Carlson, I don't know how long he's no longer there, but Hannity, Sean Hannity, Nick Wright, Skip Bayless. You know, you white, you veer right, you talk crazy all day, all night in sight. They don't have like guys that are coherent. They don't want that. Cause first of all, she ain't no player. And second of all, she knows it's true. Now listen, she ain't no sweet babe that don't know basketball. However, there's agenda at work. There's agenda at work. What her angle is with it, I don't know. I'm not privy to that. But there's an agenda there. Because why would she be upset when a guy who's a professional basketball player, considered one of the greatest ever, Hall of Famer, world champion, can speak on something that he knows about? Why is she upset? That makes no sense. And as a matter of fact, without Paul Pierce on that show, she don't have a show to be on because that show would have been yanked. Pierce saved that whack show. But I'm just saying. But I don't know what's up with. I don't know. I don't know what the agenda is with that, unless of course Rachel Nichols is messing with JJ Redick. I don't. She usually don't mess with them white boys like that, but you never know how these things go. Oh, you like that last part, huh? I don't know. Something up because why would you have an attitude? I mean, really. I mean, it's not like Paul Pierce is saying something that we don't see. So I don't know. Um, yeah, but see, first of all, why would she risk her white privilege to mess with? But unless somebody else is in there, and I don't know, somebody's in there. Somebody else is in there. But you never know. They could be giving up some goodies. I don't know. There's always some because she was quick to point out about LeBron and Jenny Buss and and downplay it. I'm like, yeah, okay. You never know. I wouldn't be surprised at nothing. Yeah, well, she does. They're in the business where that's see, and I got a problem with it because if we're gonna be talking about harassment and Me Too and cancel culture and all this other stuff. And are you up there just winking and nodding and teasing and prancing? We know that they use females for objects for moderators, and but ironically, George Taylor's very conservative on TV. Colin, the herd really tried to get his martini glass over there. I saw him, but Skip was a very true white man with the women on that show. He was all business, so I gave him dap on that. You see the tension with on Stephen A. and them with Miley and all that. Only reason why I'm gonna say it like this. Let me jump into this real quick. You can hug somebody. You can befriend someone of the opposite sex. Let me be the first to say this on this live stream, my show right here. Let me say this. I want men and women to hug each other. I'm not saying that it has to be sexual freaky. I want you to hug each other. Because all this fluidity going on with it, everybody is they, them, that, spam can, half can, no can. You got to get your identity right. So I have no problem with that interaction. You can do that. My problem with Malika Andrews is when she used that fake harassment charge against Jalen Rose. But LeBron is the prized possession on the Masters plantation, just so you know. So they don't mind that big black buck being hugged up. No diddy, no diddy. But that's what they like. So you read between the lines what you want. They touchy feely when it's allowed to be. They make a rules as they want to make a rules. I want to see Jenny Buss curl up on Anthony Davis like that. That's what we want to see. He don't sell no jerseys and he too corny. You know. They do what they want to do. Oh, did I remember? I was at home that game. I remember watching that game. It was December of 03. And oh God, he was blitzed. He said, how you feel about the Jets being down for? I said, I don't care about that, baby. I just want to kiss you, baby. I was cracking up. Oh, I cracked up. But he could get away with that. He could get away with that. Now you let Paul Pierce talk crazy to one of them white girls like that on TV and see if they don't snatch him and him all, snatch him all, treat him like he's Charles Oakley and run him about the building. Watch if it don't happen. I put cash money on it. Shh. You ain't never gonna see that. Shh. Let Walt Clyde Frazier snatch up on Delta on Burke like the get up all like that on there. See what happened. Shh. Please. I'll do even one better. You know how Draymond Green likes to act like he's a let Draymond Green get up there and be all hold up on Caitlin Clark and see what happens. They don't. It depends on who you are. Depend on who you are. But you can't be drunk and touchy feely. You can touchy, but you can't be drunk. You can't be acting like that uncle, like looking like Cedric the Entertainer. Come here, girl. You know you a little something. You can't be that. They ain't gonna let that happen. You can do it, but you can't be that, and you gotta be a certain type of cat with it. Uh, so even though now, you know why? Because he crossed over, and he he had when I was coming along back then, because you were real young at the time, he had like an Ali type of facade. I remember some of the cats thought like, okay, because Barkley didn't talk like that. He was talking different. I'm not no role model. And he was entertaining. And we loved him as a player, and he was always speaking his mind, and he would say things. And sometimes he came off like that drunk uncle playing cards too long. But he had a his aesthetic was really cool. But he caught on. And let me tell you a story about that. Sometimes you can be that way and catch on with white folks. Some do, some don't. Some of them get scared. You get some brothers that say some stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. If Charles Barkley had Isaiah Thomas's resume, he'd probably be top 12 ever, easily. But Isaiah Thomas couldn't sell himself like that to folks. I don't know if it was the teeth was too scary. He just didn't sell like that. Iverson did, but Iverson doesn't exactly keep a microphone around him either. So Barkley did. So it's a strange oddity at how some cats, of course, Karl Malone never got blew up like that either. Barkley had a personality, man. Got personality that caught on. I mean, more people would probably kick it with Barkley and the people that you least expect than they would say like Dave Ron. Dave Robinson's a goody too, brother, but it's just it was something there. Sometimes some people it sometimes so bottom line, I always say at the end of the day, it's better to be how you are than to pretend that you ain't. But he caught on. He caught on. They didn't cancel you in the 90s. We weren't about no canceling. Unless of course you were my dude Raul. If you upset white folk, that's how you get canceled. You wanna know how you get canceled? Don't stand up for the anthem. Don't stand up for the anthem. Talk trash about the president. You do what Craig Hodges, and you do what my dude Raul did. That's how you get canceled. They ain't gonna care about you talking about white folks, and they trying to. They trying to. And that's another thing that worked against Isaiah when he said it about Bird. Made him and Rodman have to go front and center. Now Rodman, crazy crossover appeal. Crazy crossover appeal. And one of them brothers who played the game. On the court and off the court. Isaiah did too, but Isaiah just didn't have the moxie. They just uh, it just didn't translate. Have you ever heard of RC Cola? That nasty cola drink? That's like two tiers below Coke. So have you ever heard of RC Cola, right? It's like Charles Barkley got Coke and Isaiah got RC Cola. That was the product. Well, yeah. Well, he has forgiven him since. They were on a show recently, and they I think Bird respected him, and I think Bird deep down knew what was up with that. But Ryman then kept on talking crazy. But Ryman seen as a wild man, but Ryman had crazy crossover appeal. And Ryman was kind of like the exotic, crazy Negro male. So there was a different thing. But yeah, there was a lot of factors why Zeke. I knew Jordan was behind it. I knew it. Jordan's hate is real. And I never got over why he left him off. I will not I don't I never condone that. So that was up. No. I wanted Isaiah. I wanted Zeke. You win a ring, you should be on the team. You a great player, you should have been on the team. That's it. You the one that's about that KJ. No, Zeke. Zeke. Because it wasn't complete without Zeke. That's just how I feel. If we have the truly best players on the team, but to mention Isaiah had more rings than a lot of people on there. So Booker went to the finals 3 years ago, and Booker has been considered one of the best players longer than Ant. And it's a lot of politics involved, as you know, with the whole thing with Kyrie. So just so you know, it ain't always about what you're seeing shine in the moment. It's a lot of agendas. Booker got crossover light skin privileges. Did I say that out loud? Can I say that on this live stream? As you know, when I'm live, you never know where I'm going to go with certain topics. So, ooh. Yeah, I'll say some stuff out here that I mean, because I always like to leave you with a few nuggets where you're like, uh, huh, uh huh, Read between the lines. Say, There you go. He's a good one too. They like Devin. They don't even know why they like him. The Junior Whopper Kobe. And they're going to use that as a backdrop to manipulate his Hall of Fame speech. Sometimes these things just write the scripts for themselves. Of course, I feel the same way with that, but this Ant is going to be on there too. Ant's on the team. But Booker's what they pushed. Yeah. Well, me and Ronda Rousey. So this is the funny thing. She got her wake up call more so because she wasn't washed as Conor McGregor. But what's his butt kept putting money on. Conor still gets money put on him. Ronda stopped. Think about that for a moment. She kept putting money on washed up Conor. It's funny how one guy walks around as a racist and he just does as he pleases and says he pleases, and they keep putting money on him. Oh yeah. But that's not why that she just fell off as a fighter. And the MMA women that she was big for MMA woman fighter though. She was right there with Conor. And you would have thought they would have gave her some kind of role in what Fast and the Furious Part 8 and 9 or something. Maybe. Could she have elevated to like a female version as The Rock? Maybe. Could she have made one of them Hollywood movies and be at the world premiere and holding Kevin Hart in her hands like a baby? Maybe. Just saying. Well, she got old in the sport that doesn't, but again, there's a lot of politics involved and she doesn't have any depth to her, so they done with her. She should have parlayed that though into a film career. She had the moment. She had that mad scrawl. I don't know if you remember His and Hers with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill. They had that scrawl moment when she was staring at him for a moment, and that scrawl on their forehead with their eyebrows. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. They all do. They all do. They all do. They all gonna eventually get it in some form of fashion because you know how it is, and it's eventually, especially nowadays. But none of them is gonna get it like Vinny got it. Nothing as sweet as Vinny's, and Vinny's is the sweetest yet. He's still crying to get back in. It's like, okay, what I gotta do? That was the sweetest one yet. But when they do it to the others, though, when they do it to black folk, then they break them off. No, they don't. And some of them don't like black folks at all, but they really don't like no tap dance. They don't. Who would? Because you can't trust them. And the thing I've always said about Mexicans too, they've been trying to appeal to black to get through the door to end up trying to get white. So it's an interesting situation. You're not thinking about that because you think it's never going in. It's like being a stripper. You think that you're gonna keep on getting it dollars and then stop. Problem with Billy Porter is simple. Billy Porter didn't have no had what I call steady work, but didn't have that job. So Billy Porter never had the RuPaul bag. And RuPaul been smart enough to balance it out. But RuPaul wasn't. I'm gonna tell you this about RuPaul. Funny thing about RuPaul. Funny thing about RuPaul too, because RuPaul acts tougher in drag than he does in street clothes. That cracks me up. Because RuPaul be acting. RuPaul actually has some interesting conversations about some stuff. But RuPaul was actually able to parlay what he does into something. And though he danced in both worlds, he still kind of kept his dignity, if you will. Remember, RuPaul was in a Spike Lee movie. I don't think Billy Porter would be in a Spike Lee movie. Now, you can make the argument that Billy Porter is more talented than RuPaul, but Billy has no respect. Billy went all the way out and just, I remember too, because it was like watching this turkey looking like, uh, got that big old forehead, got that them eyes, and all tall. And like, and I was stunned. I remember RuPaul came out just 30 years ago and talked trash to Milton Berle too, because Milton Berle used to dress in drag, except Milton was straight, but talk trash on the MTV Awards too. Yeah, I remember. Wore some good. Has some legit suit and ties too. They had some legit ones too. Spent money wisely. I still remember the time when Dennis Rodman got on RuPaul's show and kissed him in the mouth. I was like, but it took me a while to get my eyeballs back. But I know how Rodman works though. But Rue Rue still kept it about some business though. Believe it or not. Not gonna say Rue ain't, ain't it ain't things that you all cool with, but Rue kept it about the business. But Billy Porter went all the way out there and got spread. Okay. I didn't even, oh yeah, okay, Rodman. And now Billy Porter is like fishing with no pole. It's bad. That's what it was like. So that's about almost my time. I gotta go eat too, by the way, because I've been on here for a minute. I'm gonna check out some of these other things. I gotta work on some more videos too. And glad I came early too. I was glad to catch you on early because I'll probably try. I'll probably do that again. The weather is kind of like suspect. That's why I'm rocking this hat because it got a little nippy today. But I'm glad everybody came on. Had some good, interesting takes. I wouldn't imagine anything because I mean, after the games yesterday, no one's gonna get eliminated today, but there could be some series that's going up. I'm gonna check out what's going on so I can watch some of the videos. But yeah, see, it was more like 50 here. I think everything after the whole Northern Lights thing, then the weather started to change like last night. So I was trying to make a run last night to see if I catch anything in the sky. Cause a couple people I know at church they mentioned that they showed some, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get lucky, but it ain't gonna happen here. Not for a minute. It's supposed to come back in July though, so we'll see. But I'm gonna say this real quick again. Thoughts and prayers with you, man. Appreciate you, and stay up. Like I said, everything's tough. I understand. I'm glad you came through. Always appreciate you coming through. Great questions and thoughts. I mean that because before anything, I'm a human being about these things and it's real. So when I talk to you again, I'll have surmised these two games and they could go either way, but I don't know. I think Boston, if they don't beat Cleveland tonight, they in trouble. They better not let that thing go 6, 7 games. So that one, and the same thing with Dallas and OKC, but I already said that though. But anyway, thoughts, prayers, peace, the best. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay warm. Till we meet again, God willing, I'm back in 24 hours. Peace. Take care. Thank you.